delegated ICB responsibilities for ophthalmic payments. So as I started at the beginning, we have got a bit of a Q&A function. If any of the any of the topics that I'm going to mention here, you have any questions or you'd like to know a little bit more information about it, please feel free just to leave a question in that Q&A function and we'll look at it at the end of the session. So when it comes to ICBs and ophthalmic payments, the first thing ICBs can do is view the statements of a particular ophthalmic organisation through PCSE Online. You'll also be able to approve levy changes. So the local ophthalmic committee email ICBs who approve and then send emails to PCSE to administer and manage. New contractor approvals and changes as well. So you guys will be responsible for approvals, which is currently completed by NHS BSA, who then notify PCSE. HC5 approvals, faster payments for ICB responsible for approvals and uploading payments. So PCSE to notify ICBs where there's an actual requirement. And approval of same-day substitutions for domiciliary visits. So the contractor will effectively seek approval from an ICB for that same-day substitution for that domiciliary visit. What I'd like to ask now is anybody's got any questions or anything that they'd actually like to a little bit more information on around these delegated ICB responsibilities for ophthalmic payments. So Salma, are you on?
I am.
Hiya. So Salma, can you see any questions there relevant to ophthalmic payments that have come up?
So it's well, I think it's just a general access one. I think if you only have access to one type of box, it refers to having access to just GP boxes. If you needed ophthalmic or PMM, you would need to apply for the relevant access. It wouldn't be given automatically. Yeah,
brilliant. All right, thank you for that, Salma.
Let me see if I can try sharing a statement view screen or what sort of view you'd have. So if somebody had the ICB role of statement view, which is similar to what the RLTs have, I'll show you what your screen will look like when you go in.
Brilliant. Thank you, Salma.
Hopefully you can see this. This is in our test environment, but in essence, this is what will be emulated on live, and this is what it would look like. Obviously, currently we haven't changed the titles yet to say different entirety, but this is what the statement view shows you. If you have access to ophthalmic, you will select ophthalmic, and then you can search claims, which will help with your GOS6 substitutions, because on here, if you click on search claims and go to search for a GOS6, if that contractor's got a GOS6, you'd need to have certain details. As you can see, you'd need the contractor name. You want to have the visit date from or to, depending on what information you've given. A PVN reference would be essential for you to see whether you can substitute an existing PVN for another. And the status has to be accepted as well. I don't know if I have any samples of any test PVNs on here. It probably crashed for me, but this is sort of what the PVN search screen shows you. And somebody who wants to do a same-day substitution, they've gone in and for whatever reason has had to swap to a different patient or a different person or a different visit that they're going to have maybe in the future, and they want to do it earlier because they can't attend the current one. They would need to have had a PVN approved. It does need to say accepted, as it does here. And then they can go through if you're happy to approve it. There's nothing you would have to do, but this is a check you can do to ensure that there is a PVN that exists. And as an ICB, as how the RLTs do at the moment, they just provide approval, say, we're happy to approve it. This is a valid PVN for you to change. And then the contractor goes online and goes through their substitution process. So this is not something you can do. It's only if you have access to making claims or making, processing PVNs. But from a, ICB's perspective, you are wanting to say, well, actually, yes, we can see you've got 2 valid PVNs and they meet the criteria. They are in accepted format. We're happy for you to substitute, Mr. Smith today for Mr. Jones, who's going to be done tomorrow today, whatever the substitution reason is, that they'll come to you. But that's what you'd be looking at the PVN screen. You do have other facilities if you want to look at searching for claims for contractors and such. And then your statement view is here. And again, it depends on who's aligned under your region for the statements that you want to view. So Our access may be a little bit different purely because as a central team we get to see all contractor statements if there's a query, because we need to answer for all of them. But for yourself, you have those that fall under the ICB, so you can view the statements. But like this is a test contractor we've set up, and then it's just a matter of you doing your search. You know, do you want to have a look at the last few months? Is there a statement that's generated? It will list statements. I believe you can go up to 12 months worth to view, but what you have to do is you just click on here. It will open the statement up.
Right, Salma, just while that's going through, I will say, and thank you for showing this on the screen, really appreciate it. But one question has come through, it's just asking who actually approves the PVN.
The initial PVN, the system approves it because it has business rules built into the system. So the the contractors obviously contacted the patient, got their personal details, got the dates of visits. If they meet the criteria that's been set. So for example, if you only have 2 patients that you need to visit, they give us 48 hours notice. If they know the previous site test, it meets the interval periods, you know, it's within the, you know, more than a year or 2 years, whatever it might be. The system's got these rules already built in. So the accepted status only comes up if it fits the rules that we've built into it. So that's your initial one. It's the substitutions that require human intervention. So you will have PVNs that are accepted. You'll have some that get rejected because, you know, they don't meet the criteria. Some contractors will leave some of their PVNs in draft. So there's a task we're taking separately to maybe, I guess, educate the contractors as well on some of these points. The draft ones are where they've got to a certain point and maybe it's thrown up an error, the postcode, you know, it's not accepting it, or it's saying you need to give me a reason for why you want to do a visit within less than 24 hours. As an example, it won't let you proceed or accept that PVN. It requires additional information, so it'll keep it in draft. So when you're looking out to approve a substitution, you want to make sure it's been accepted, because that is a valid PVN that the system's business rules have said, yes, you meet the criteria. So if we had human intervention, it'd be us who would be doing it, but now we have a system that does this. It's telling us it's accepted. Does that help in any way?
I think so. Yeah, thank you, Salva, for going through that. Really appreciate it. I'm just going to go back to the Q&A, just see if anything else has come through. So we have got one that's just come through. It says, who needs to accept the substitutions?
It would be the ICBs that approve them, and then the contractor goes online and processes the substitution. So the system will accept it as long as they've had the approval.
Awesome, thank you. There is another one here as well, but it basically says, so when the delegation is given to us, we will need Caldecott to approve us to have the user, or can we just request on behalf of the ICS?
When the delegation is given, as long as, well, I think you'd have to ask for access if you don't already have it and it's been transferred over. It really depends how it's currently set up. If the hierarchy is not set up that way to include the contractors, then yes, you do need to ask for access. If you already have the existing, it will transfer for you.
So thank you again, Salma. Right, I'm just going to see if anything else has been put on. So, right, can you just, sorry, Salva, so are you able just to explain a little bit more about what a PVN is?
Just a pre-visit notification for a domiciliary visit. So the regulations state that you need to have approval to do a domiciliary visit, and there are certain guidance given on the timescales. So like I was mentioning, you need to give us 48 hours for 2 patients, up to any more than that, it's 3 weeks. Minimum requirement. So it's you getting approval to say, actually, I can visit, because you are getting paid a higher fee. It's not just a standard site test fee that you get. You also get a domiciliary visit fee, and there are certain limitations. So, for example, if you're visiting a home which has multiple patients, you're only allowed to claim for 1 higher fee, 1 second fee. Well, they're both high fees, but 1 first patient, second patient, and the rest of them have to be third. And this is why you have to have the pre-approval, because of the nature of, you know, the cost involved in domiciliary visits, and you also need to have the account set up to allow you for these additional services. But it's part of the regulations. We have, I'm just going to try seeing if I can bring up, I've got a lot of things open, so apologies guys, but we have on here just going to find notifications for domiciliaries. So online, we have this, which is available to all to use, PCSE.England NHS UK website, and on here it will give you the guidance if you've not already seen this, but I believe it's part of the regs and part of the Making Accurate Claims guide that was recently issued as well, if that's been shared with the ICBs yet. If not, I can speak to our contacts in NHS to see if it can be shared out from the central team, but this will tell you sort of, you know, the timescales within which and how many patients you have. I think the maximum, like a minimum timescale for more than 2 patients is 3 weeks, but there is a maximum that you can notify is 8 weeks, and it just tells you how to do substitutions, and there's a lot of guidance in here to help the contractor. You, from an ICB's view, you won't need to do any of the processing, but I guess if you're getting a substitution come through to you, this will, you know, help to say, well, is their existing PVN accepted? Has it met the timescales and the criteria based on the number of patients? Those sort of things, if you get questions thrown out. But we also have a lot of guidance under our Ophthalmic banner here in relation to domiciliary visits and what to do and how to do the claims if it helps.
Awesome, thanks again, Salma. There is another question just come up as well. So it asks, what happens if you do not approve a PVN?
Then the contractor shouldn't be visiting.
Okay, brilliant.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
If you've said no to them, they shouldn't be going out, and thus the likelihood is that when they submit their GOS6, it won't be accepted, because if you've approved it, then they've been able to change the date and update the date of the visit. Then when they do the GOS6 claim, the dates will match and the information will match. But if they try to submit a claim and the information doesn't match, the system will reject it. So, yeah.
Awesome, thanks, Salma. And so another question's come up as well. So can you give us sort of a scenario, or when and why would they actually need to look at a Ophthalmic practice statement?
I guess if it's someone comes to you and queries and says, I'm not being paid, it's really, you won't, I wouldn't think, on a lot of occasions, but if you're conscious or there's been an escalations that come your way, that's when you would. We use this a lot for, you know, when we're processing payments, when we've got queries that come through. That's mainly dealt with in PCSE, but you do get some cases where there's an escalation that comes to ICBs and you want to review the information that they're saying. They might be disputing being paid things and you want to look at it for your purpose, but most of it, I think it's just useful to have if you feel there's a need. But whether ICBs will need it on a regular basis, I don't know. I wish I could answer that part from your perspective. I just know for escalations, it's definitely something that would benefit you guys knowing how to use.
Brilliant, thank you, Sam. So I can't see any more questions that have come up, but I mean, we have still got time. So if anything does come back, I'll refer back to you. But yeah, really appreciate that, Salma. Thank you.